I always wanted to perform as well. I was always like obsessed with like mostly, I'm such a gay stereotype, but like mostly like the women in SNL in the 90s. Like I just like loved Sherry O'Terry and Molly Shannon. And I had like a disproportionate love for Anna Gasteyer that I still have to this day. Like all of them, Tina and Rachel and Amy. So I always wanted to do both. And so I did a lot of improv and sketch like in New York and then very lightly in LA when I moved out here. But then I started to see how hard those spaces were, like in a professional way.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 248. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hi.
Howdy.
So we should probably take this moment to let people know.
What are we letting them know?
We're going to let them know that we are going to be in the Miami area.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody wants to hang out. We were in Boston around Thanksgiving time and had a great time hanging out with people.
We did.
And so if anyone wants to hang out with us in Miami, we will be there on March 24th. So it's last time we had to pick a day out of many. This time we already know the day. It's March 24th because we are in town. We are doing a cruise.
I know.
So hopefully we're gonna find out how well these vaccines work. But we are doing
it's just a little baby cruise.
Yes, it's like. But so we're flying in the night before, and so we are free on Thursday, March 24th. So I had posted in the group about it. But if anyone's interested in hanging out, maybe chime in on that thread in the group. And we're just trying to figure out if it's worth people's time. And it would be nothing crazy. Like we'd probably just find a bar or restaurant to hang out in, and that would
have a dinner, chat.
Yeah,
the usual.
Yeah, so pretty tame.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, if people are down for that, we would love to hang out with people.
We would.
Yeah. So anyway, there's our shameless plug before the shameless plug, and. Now, what, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
Well, we're going to talk to John Mills. He's going to be visiting, and we're going to chat about a new Barry quote.
Oh dear.
And just some other things that happened. Also, Ifit. We're going to talk about Ifit, some connected fitness and general reviews. We've got a visit from Dr. Jen, and she's talking about helping children have healthy relationships with food. We have a whole bunch of in the news happening this week, so we got to talk about that. MetPro, Angelo's visiting, and he has tips for determining the best times to eat specific to you. And then a whole bunch of instructor news as well. So there's a whole lot going on this week, and we need to get down to it.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. And while you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. And maybe leave us a review if you would be so kind. That way people that come along after you know that it's worth checking out. And also, if you want to stay up to date on things throughout the week, you can find us on the facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. The group is a great place for you to chime in. And if you post something, you can post something on a page, but nobody will ever see it. So the group's way better for that sort of thing. And what else do we got to plug? Oh, yeah, YouTube, youtube.com/theclipout. You can watch these shows in full HD glory. And finally, don't forget, I know we throw a lot of news stories and links and articles and stuff at you when you're listening to an episode. And I know a lot of people are listening to it on their commute, and so they don't have time to go find that stuff. So if you're looking for that stuff, you can sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com, where you will get just a weekly digest of just here's all the links we talked about. It doesn't make that noise, though.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
We're working on it, though. We're working on it.
Yeah.
So
maybe a new GIF,
Yeah. So anyway, there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Run, lift, and live with John Mills.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, it's John Mills. Hey, how's it going?
How's it going?
Oh, there's my energy.
There's always a slight pause
I know.
where I'm just like, oh, is it not going okay? And then it kicks
because
in.
John's revving. Like he's got to rev up, you know? Like, do you remember those Tonka?
Get it going.
Do you guys remember those Tonka trucks from the 80s when you would like drag them backwards and then they would go? That's what I picture you doing.
Do I really seem like, as a boy, I was like, please, someone buy me trucks?
I just figure you had one, even if you didn't like it. I feel like you had one. Your sister probably played with it.
You might have, yeah. I remember when I was a kid, the big gift I wanted was a Charlie McCarthy ventriloquist dummy.
Who are you,
And
honey?
it was the 70s. And so my dad was like, oh, we can't get him a doll. I'm like, it's not a doll. It's a ventriloquist dummy. Dolls have dresses and long hair and like, I mean, like, whatever. If that's what I wanted, go get it, Dad. That's your job. But
your childhood story did not age well.
it did not. But it was like, but no, I want a ventriloquist dummy. And
I actually wanted one too.
Did
to
you?
be honest, and it was the 70s. I don't remember the act, but it was a black man, and he had I can't remember the name of the act. They were like really,
Lester. Willie something and Lester.
Yeah. And I loved that act so much. I wanted one of them dogs. But then one of the dolls that he had.
Can you all imagine
my parents
this?
never got me one though.
Can you all imagine this podcast if we had Tom and John both with ventriloquist dolls right now?
It would be huge.
That would be amazing.
It would blow up.
Yeah. And it was Willie, Tyler, and Lester.
Willie.
And
there it is.
Yeah, and that sounds like it would be three people, the guy's name was Willie Tyler.
He had two last names.
Yeah,
or two first names.
and then Lester was the ventriloquist. You're not supposed to say
my parents
dummy.
didn't get it for me though.
Yeah.
They didn't get it for me. Probably good because I tried to but I was terrible. So
Yeah, it's mean streets
throw my
for
voice.
ventriloquists out there. Like that's a rough childhood. Like
Yeah. Although you wouldn't think it would be because they could blame saying nasty things to other people, like
my whole motivation.
of course it was. Of course it was, Tom.
But you're not supposed to call them dummies. I've done a couple Jeff Dunham shows in my concert career, and like he gets upset.
What the heck do you call them? What is the politically correct term?
Not dolls. I've established that. Forget what it was. Characters. You're
not
supposed to-
dolls and not dummies.
Yeah, you're supposed to call them characters. Like if you call them dummies, he will get very upset.
Did Jeff Dunham yell at you, Tom?
No, I've done shows with him like 3 or 4 times. I've never actually met him.
Oh, okay.
But that was like in the marketing letter you get. It's like, do not call them dummies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I need a video of somebody just intentionally. Yeah, so you're dummy. I need that video, of like how he reacts.
He will lose his shit.
His mind on him.
That character is going to go off on you.
He travels with an elliptical. So or treadmill, I forget which one, but he had a road case that like he had a specially built custom road case for it that they would come in and open up and it would like an unfurl.
Serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you do that kind of business, you can ask for those sorts of perks.
Yeah. What else are you going to work out, I guess?
Yeah.
So.
And just while we're on the Jeff Dunham topic, he's got a character.
Right.
I forget its name, but it's like
the jalapeno.
No, it's the one that's like a country bumpkin kind of a character.
Okay,
and it's got
I have no
big
idea
buck
why I know.
teeth and all that. And I forget what it's called. Just Google sometime Mortimer Snerd, and he completely lifted that character.
Oh no!
From Mortimer Snerd was one of so Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy were ventriloquists. Edgar Bergen was the ventriloquist, and one of his other characters was Mortimer Snerd, and he totally lifted the look, the voice, the attitude, everything. Lifted Mortimer Snerd. It's just most people aren't really up on the history of ventriloquism. So yeah.
So
anyway,
Peloton.
Yes.
I'm glad everybody tuned in to hear your ventriloquy lecture.
That's what I do.
You just never know where we're going to go.
You never know. Hey, remember when I talked about Fred J. Muggs and everybody was super excited to hear about Fred J. Muggs?
Hey.
Go.
Yeah, we don't know. That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
I guess let's start with our first story, which is
Bear.
Barry McCarthy.
Bear.
Uncle Barry.
Yeah.
Uncle Barry. I love it.
Oh yeah. In my clubhouse, my clubhouse, one of the listeners, Kari, came up with that, and so I think he came up with it because you know how if you're at like the cookout and everybody has that uncle that just might say anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, and then people are giggling, but he's just like serious. He gives me that vibe.
Yes.
Barry McCarthy gives us that Uncle Barry vibe.
You never know what he's going to do. He's not Bear, but he's Scare Bear.
Yeah.
He's Scare Bear.
He's a Scare Bear.
Well, whatever he is, he's changing things. Okay, so I'm not going to go down that road. We did that last week.
Yes.
But this article talks. Okay, so Yahoo Finance sat down with Uncle Barry this week, and they talked about what is in the future for Peloton. There were some key takeaways. So I'm going to say them out loud, and I want to get your guys' feedback on them. So Peloton will soon be testing new pricing to attract new members. The $39 price for existing members is not going away. So we were all right about that. Yay. All right. Any feedback before I move on?
Well, I mean, there's no way it stays $39 forever. It's not going to be in perpetuity. But what do you think that testing will be like? Do you think we're going to see cheaper bikes but higher monthly fees? Do you think that's the...
I do. Yeah. He kept saying pricing elasticity, so I think it's going to be that, and I also think it's going to be bundling for services, you know, like we're cable. That's what I think's happening.
Yeah, and that's exactly, I mean, to me, this wasn't really much of news because it's exactly what he said in the New York Times article like a few weeks ago. Like this is kind of, he's recycling kind of the same kind of topics. So he said in that, when he was talking to the New York Times, he said, we're going to try new pricing structures, and we're thinking about eliminating kind of that upfront cost, so you're not putting down $2,000 on the product. And then he going back and forth with this interviewer talking about, well, what would the price monthly be if you did that? And he's thinking, I don't know, 60, 70, $80. The thought being you're just kind of leasing or something, you know, something to that effect. So I heard, when I heard that with the New York Times article, I just thought, an existing customer who already has their bike is just going to keep paying $39 a month.
Right.
That's what I thought too.
But if you're a new customer, then you might not have to pay the $2,000 up front to buy the bike, but you now might pay $70 a month.
Like forever,
so this just kind
in
of
perpetuity. Like you may,
right?
So that's the downside, right? Because like we paid for our bikes up front, and then it was done.
Would people really make that choice though, if it means that once the bike is paid off, it's not paid off, and you keep paying?
Well, maybe because maybe that also means you get a new bike every 3 years.
Sure, okay.
You know, so maybe. I don't know.
So here's the other question. If somebody goes down this road and they stop paying, does that mean Peloton is now in the repossession business?
Well, it certainly means they're in the financing business.
Yeah, I don't know. Another thing about this article I found interesting, and he describes it as fitness as a service.
Yes.
And that's interesting to me because it reminds me of like software as a service, like the idea being like if you don't have like a plant in your backyard to generate electricity, you just plug into the grid and you just pay a monthly for what you use. And software as a service, that similar kind of an idea. So is he trying to like coin this phrase to align with this kind of leasing type model? Like, because I had never really heard it like that.
Well, first of all,
as a service.
I've never heard it said like that. I totally agree with you. But second of all, yes, I do. And I think the reason he's making his rounds at specific places is because exactly what you said, John. He is recycling these ideas because he's out there beating a drum, getting people on board with his like new direction. So one of the other things that he said was that no additional fundraising is needed to support McCarthy's vision for the company, which sounds more software driven as opposed to a steady drumbeat of manufacturing its own hardware and producing original workout content. So when I hear that, I hear we're going to focus on software and the hardware becomes secondary. So that goes along with what you just said. It goes along with the leasing idea. It goes like it becomes secondary. But then add on this other statement, which is he is open to adding outside partners to the Peloton platform to boost the user experience.
Right. And he said that in the New York Times article. That's like another thing he's recycling, because he says in that article with the New York Times about potentially having a marketplace or using outside partners to develop for the platform. Like, he talked that same kind of language. I can't remember how he worded it, but it's similar. So that's why I think he keeps regurgitating the same thing. He's like getting, everyone's kind of feel for what he's saying. I agree.
He is repeating things, but I feel like also, he's using slightly different wording each time. And I also think he's doing it to get all of us used to these ideas, right? So
yeah, they certainly feel like trial balloons. Like he's going to put this stuff out there and gauge the reaction. And if people freak out, then he can be like, well, no, not like that.
Yeah, and, this feels like a presidential platform.
It does.
It feels like like he's running for president. That's what it feels like to me.
And politicians do that kind of stuff all the time with trial balloons, where they're just like, well, I mean, what if taxes were 85%? Okay.
And, all right.
Well, now I see that wasn't a good idea. I didn't say I was going to do that.
Right.
But if nobody freaks out,
then
they're
floating the idea.
Right. Yeah. This is the Joe Rogan model. Just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. Having a conversation.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a different world now. We do not have past experience of Peloton to draw on.
Yeah.
And so to me, anything is up for grabs. Any of this. I wonder what this does. I have long wanted them to shut down their open API, because I feel like people are always poking around in there, finding things they shouldn't find. And it's created numerous security risks. This sounds like we're going to be open to more of that, not less.
Right.
Not sure how I feel about that. Also, I get the idea that he's trying to say about fitness as a service. However, I am concerned because that also means I hear it as we're not going to be the ones who are making waves. We're not going to be innovative. That's what I hear. If it's all about software, the hardware is done and we are no longer going to be innovative. I hope that interpretation is incorrect, but that is my interpretation.
Okay, but ultimately, wasn't their innovation kind of software based? I mean, they didn't really reinvent a spin bike per se.
But they added features to it. Like, for example, think about the tread, and it had the buttons on it that you press to jump to go from one speed to the next very quickly, or the way the knobs are rounded. It's so simple to increase or slow down. Those jump buttons, that's a big deal. So, I mean, they had innovation that was hardware driven, but I will also say there have been numerous problems with that hardware. So I get that maybe that's what they're going away from, but like, does that mean that this year when we see the rower drop, when we see the guide drop, is that it? Are we done for a while? Because now it's just all going to be adding software to things.
I mean, he was you're right. He was very clear about the idea of like, we're going to focus on the experience. And he describes the experience as what you produce from the software. And also in that article that you referred to there, they make it very clear that he's saying we're not going to, derail any current hardware plans that are in place. Like, and I thought when I read that, I was like, well, I didn't think you were. Why are you telling me like I thought you were?
I think there's been some rumors. I think there's been some rumors. I mean, we all know that they're not, but I think that out there in the general news marketplace, I think people have kind of floated questions like, well, maybe they're maybe this means that the rower's not going to come out. I've certainly seen that question come up quite a bit, and so that's what I heard.
I think I think software makes sense just in so much as that there's a finite number of pieces of equipment that people really want, right? And so, like, at some point, you're making, weirder is harsh, but more and more niche products of like, here's a stair stepper, and I just don't know how much of that you're really gonna move.
How far do you go with that?
Yeah, and so I mean, I get that. Like,
but on the flip side, how many things can you do to the existing stuff? I mean, do we just turn it all into games and things like that? Like, what does that even?
I feel like there's more room to nibble around the edges than there are in the world of machines. So, like, maybe there is a way. maybe they do come up with a way where like they figure out beats per minute and you can change the music, and
that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. And, and so its algorithm can kind of read what the tempo of the song is. And then it can, it can swap out within a genre. And you can say, no, I don't want a hip hop class. I want a heavy metal class, or vice versa.
TM Tom O'Keefe.
Yeah. Well, they never did the sexy people filter, so I'm done with them. But
you sound like you work for Uncle Barry.
Well, I just call him Scare Bear, so I don't think he's getting to hire me.
Ideas.
Yeah.
My theory is they're still keeping the clip out away from Barry, so he probably won't be hearing any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably don't hear it.
John, however, is probably sitting at home cracking up. So
yeah.
He's got a little more free time.
Yeah. John's somewhere in the Hamptons. He's somewhere in the Hamptons, and he's like, that's a good one.
Did you see at the end of that article, at the very end, he says, with all the cash we have on hand and the large amount of love we have for this platform, if we can't turn this around, then I should have never come out of retirement. So when I read that, I wasn't sure if that was a confidence building statement for investors or just another diss of everybody else in charge. Like, you guys can't make this work. I mean, come on now.
Damn.
Well, I mean,
I wasn't sure how to read it.
It's both.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could read it as a diss, but at the same time, it's the reality of the situation, right? Like, I mean, they were in turmoil, and they changed leaderships to suppress turmoil. So, I mean, that ultimately it's just a statement of fact. But I also think he's right in that they have a lot more positives than they do negatives, and people are losing sight of that. And he's basically saying this ain't as bad as you people think, and this is going to be a pretty quick. I think for him, he looks at this and goes, "There's so much low hanging fruit. This is easy peasy."
Yeah.
Well, then I guess we didn't need to give him $400 billion or whatever. So if it's so easy.
Uncle Barry just, what y'all doing? Give me that hammer. This is how you do this. Uncle Barry.
So also this week, you were talking about how Ifit has begun quietly laying people off. I guess quietly because people don't write about Ifit in the same way that they write about Peloton, because it doesn't drive clicks, which is probably part of why they're laying people off.
Pretty sure this article started something like Peloton's rival lays off people.
Yeah. Every time.
And they just wanted the clicks.
Right. They wanted to click. Well, I just found the article interesting for a few reasons. One, their path seems identical
that
to
it does.
Peloton.
Yeah.
Like everything that's going on seems like identical. It starts out with, well, we knew this. In December, Ifit laid off like a whole bunch of people, hundreds of people or what have you. And but now, and then in January, one of their lenders sues them and said, give us our money back, because they I think they were trying to buy a manufacturing plant in China or something. And I guess it broke some agreement.
Yeah, it had something didn't it have something to do with like that the people that that held the loan were also owners of? It was some weird situation.
Which made me wonder, was this just an easy off ramp for this lender to go, oh, we can get our money back and get out of this.
Right.
So that was going on in January. And now we hear about, but they're private. I guess this is the beauty of being private, right? No one really knows what's going on, and you hear these hints. But I guess now they're on another round of layoffs, and this article they interviewed some individual who wouldn't give their name, and is like, yeah, this looks like it's going to be deep layoffs, and so more is going on. While that's going on, they run another round to raise money, and they raised $355 million or something. So they're trying to get more funds in at the same time while they're getting rid of these people. Like, all of it sounds like what we just saw, happen with Peloton over the last few months. And then at the end of it, in this article, it talks about how, which is another interesting thing to me, it talks about how Ifit has 7.3 million members.
Mm-hmm.
which kind of threw me at first. I was like,
well, how
really?
do they define members, right? Like, do you define member as someone who bought a piece of equipment from you? I mean, they've been in business for a long time. So if you're going back 20 years and counting equipment, then okay.
That's what I think too.
But when you use that metric, when you know the length of time attached to that metric, if that's what they're doing, it's a lot less impressive.
Because as John points out here, Peloton has 6.6 million members. And we know when Peloton started their count because that was 2012.
And also a Peloton member is by virtue of definition engaged with the piece of equipment currently.
Or the app.
Yes.
Right.
And where if you're just saying anyone who bought a piece of Ifit equipment is now a member, well, we all know there's lots of fitness equipment out there that has been forgotten or sold,
coat racked,
and then forgotten by another person. Like the pass around rate on misbegotten toys of fitness equipment is pretty high.
Yeah, I think, and to make it worse, one of the folks under the post informed me that Ifit also counts folks that are using free content. So they have no subscription. They just signed up for the free content that they deliver. So yeah, it's not apples and apples. It's not but I don't know how it really measures. But my mind, even if it isn't, my mind thought they've got potential contact of 7.3 million people. So is that why they're able to run these rounds of funding, and they have the support to kind of, keep kind of managing to this, because they actually have the potential ear of a large number of people. So there's value in that.
I think there's also, that could be part of it, but I think there's also just the longevity of this company. I mean, they've been around a long time. They're a known quantity for some. And I think there's because of that, there's a little bit of comfort with it. It's like, they've been around. They know what they're doing. Right. But to me, the most interesting part, and you kind of glossed over it this time, but you mentioned it in here that the co-founder and CEO was stepping down. Talk about mirroring Peloton.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
The co-founder, I mean, he's been a part of because Ifit, before they were called Ifit, they were Nordic Track, and they've been around for like 50 years.
Right.
So, I mean, he's been around all this time, and he's stepping down. He's going to be like co-president, I think they said. I think they're now on the hunt for a CEO. But yeah, they're mirroring.
I hear Foley's looking for a job.
Is Uncle Barry going to fix us and then go over there?
You never know. Maybe he's going to buy them. He's open to new platforms.
Somebody should
Don't spend that money, Barry. Don't you dare spend that money. We will have words.
It also said in here that their valuation has dropped 60% in the last year and a half. So a lot of this just kind of mirrors, which tells me this is probably just relative to the connected fitness space and just that surge that all of these players saw. And did anybody navigate that well? I mean, you don't hear this coming from a Tonal. I don't hear this coming from a Tempo. I hear some stuff like this relative to some others, but not those. So I guess some folks played it well, I guess.
To be fair, I mean, first of all, I have a great love of Tonal, and I'm going to speak to them specifically. But both Tonal and Tempo are kind of early in their growth cycle. So I think it's a lot easier to kind of pull back on those reins and be like, let's just see how this plays out, versus Peloton, who was much further in that cycle whenever they had their big boom moment. And even Nordic Track / Ifit, because they've been around so long. I think I can understand why both of them got caught up in it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't thought about it in that context, but you're right. That makes a lot of sense. But it's clear those two, it hit them when, I don't know, others it may not have. Like you said, maybe it was just due to their size or where they were at in their growth kind of.
I don't know, because it's also, I think that there's a lot of really good people over at Tonal who are being very careful. I think they're a little quieter and less bold about their success. I think they kind of keep their cards a little closer to the vest. I think there's a slightly different culture at play there too. which I admire and am a fan of.
Yeah.
So
we should also say, moving along, that you were doing some just kind of research like you do on other connected fitness equipment, and you noticed some interesting kind of trends with how they're being treated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much this says. It may not say anything, but I found these two reviews, one from CNET, another from Forbes. The Forbes one came out on February 17th. The CNET one came out on February 23rd. And they're reviewing connected fitness mirror type devices, right? Each one. So the first one that comes out, the Forbes one, is kind of high level. It's kind of generic. Doesn't give you a lot of detail, right? But it comes to a conclusion that tempo from a mirror type device, it sits on your wall perspective, tempo is the most well-rounded. And then they came to the conclusion, but tonal is what you'd want if you're really trying to do strength. Like they separate those two things, right? I found that interesting. And then they came to a conclusion like mirror is kind of a value play. Like I took their terminology as meaning it's some good stuff. It's not the best. If you want a lower price, then get the mirror. And then both reviews, the first review, Forbes one, saw Echelon Reflect as like, well, that's budget. Maybe don't pay it any mind, maybe get it, but that's the last one, right? Right? That's how they saw it. Now, the CNET one comes out a week later, but it's much more detailed. It's like this individual purchased each one and for months tried each one. Like this was like lots of work that went into this review. It's really deep. In the end, the conclusion that this person comes to is exactly the same. The conclusion being that tempo is well-rounded, tonal's for strength, mirror is value, Echelon, now leave that alone. The exact same conclusion. So it made me start thinking. I was like, I know Tonal has all these other, categories and all these other disciplines. Is there a perception issue going on here? Like, is it like out there that you get a Tonal because you're trying to do strength? But if you're not, and you're trying to do HIIT and cardio and yoga and stretching, then leave that aside because that tonal thing's for strength. Is that a perception that's out in the air here?
I think it might be based on this, but it's concerning to me because they do have so much other content, and yes, it is the best if you want to lift weights, like hands down. But like there's a difference between it's the best if you want to do weights versus it's the best for weightlifters. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it does both really well. You can still get incredible cardio content on that thing. I mean, right. And they've got, I mean, Tom, that one class that you were doing, that cardio and fuego, like it is legit HIIT cardio and it's like 30 minutes. It is a tough class. And then they have all these other things they're doing.
I'm sure there are tougher ones because I promise you, I picked it by accident. Like I was not trying to pick a tough one. And then I'm halfway through and I'm like, what have I done? So I honestly, I feel like when it comes to that, like I would think Tonal would be your best bet because you can get all the same content that you get from a tempo, and you can actually lift weights with it, and
you get the AI on top of it. Right, you get the amazing AI where it just adds weights for you.
This is not a commercial. We promise you.
So that's what struck me. Everything you guys say, that's what struck me. I got two separate reviewers. The one I could kind of let go. The Forbes one, it was initial. It was the first one I saw. It was very thin. The second one is so detailed, and they both came to the same conclusion. That made me go, wow.
So here's
the person. That's another thing. The CNET reviewer was like avid tonal like proponent. Like they love their tonal. Like they already had a tonal. So maybe they were just so happy with the strength piece. That's why they came to that conclusion. I don't know.
So here's my theory. My theory is that these other ones are all kind of versions of the same thing, and then you get Tonal, which does this other, which does a lot of the same stuff, if not all of the same stuff, but also has this other component that's wildly different. And I think the reviewers get so fixated on this wildly different aspect.
They forget or
don't even think to explore the other avenues because they feel like, well, if I'm not using the arms and the handles and the weight, then I'm not using it. I'm not really using the machine.
Oh, yeah.
I 100% agree with that. Yeah. It's disturbing. Tonal, you guys need to look into this because we can't have perception issues for Tonal. We love you guys.
It clearly seemed like there's a perception thing or such a love for that electromagnetic weight thing.
They forget about the other stuff.
Are just like focused like directly on that. And it seems like something gets lost in each of these reviews because of that. It's kind of really odd.
Yeah. Well,
and then Echelon at the end was kind of funny.
Yeah.
One of the reviews just said, don't buy it. That's all it is.
Well, so they didn't get everything wrong.
Did you guys see that they have a feature coming out? It's like feature, but spelled FIT. And that the reason I find that interesting is because it's a mirror-like device, but it's from like one of our Peloton instructors who has not worked at Peloton for a long time, Lisa Nyron, who we also interviewed on the show a long time ago. She is working at Fitcher now. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. I'm a little concerned about the company just because I feel like that market is getting so saturated so quickly. So I'm really curious to see how things go with that one.
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that one. That sounds interesting.
It does.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us again. Until next week, where can people find you?
They can find me on my Facebook group or page, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on the Tickety Talk, Run, Lift, and Live.
My favorite.
Or they can find me at runliftandlive.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Nice seeing you guys.
You too.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jen.
So joining us once again via the magic of Zoom 2 is Dr. Jen Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jen or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jen, or her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jen Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jen's 6-Step Guide to Improving Communication, Connection, and Intimacy. It's Dr. Jen. Hello.
Hi.
Oh,
so good to have you here. Now, this first question requires a little bit of background, just in case you or some of our listeners have not heard all of our interviews and episodes. This question is about a recent interview we did with Megan Pace. I should stop here and say, anyone listening who is triggered by eating disordered questions, this might be something you want to skip past. So we had Megan Pace on, and she talked about how when she was younger, there were some things that happened in her life that triggered eating disorders for her. And this question comes from a mom who she says that her mama heart is hurting. Listening to today's guest makes me terrified for my 7-year-old. She tries very hard to form healthy eating and workout habits for her girls. Her 7-year-old is just a bigger kid. She's very active. She does cheer 4 days a week. Plus, she loves it so much, she's always playing music and dancing in their living room. But listening to this guest talk about her childhood and how it shaped her eating disorder made this woman worry about how it would affect her child, her baby. So her question for you, Dr. Jen, how can she help her daughter form a healthy relationship with her body? She does, FYI, already tell her that she's strong and it's important to be strong for her team. And she has shown her videos of cheerleaders that she looks up to. So she does know.
I love this question, and I love that this mom is so mindful and wants to do prevention. Prevention is a lot easier than once things have gone awry. The number one thing that I really want to emphasize to moms, and especially moms who are Peloton fanatics like me, and tonal people and exercise people, is that the most important thing that you can do is to model good, healthy behavior and self-talk. One of the biggest things that I see moms do that creates problems for their kids, especially their daughters, is a lot of negative self-talk about their own body. Oh, my butt's so big. Oh, my thighs. Oh, my this. Oh, my that. Talking about things you don't like about your body in front of your child is a massive no-no. Like, do not do that. I remember years ago, I did a segment on the Tyra Banks show where it was all kids under the age of 10 who had eating disorders. And every single one of those kids had a parent who spent time in the mirror criticizing their body. And that's where they learned it from.
Oh, wow.
Modeling healthy behavior in terms of the way you talk about yourself, the way you talk about your body in front of your child is key. Having a healthy relationship with food yourself. And if you don't, then do the work in therapy, work with a dietitian or nutritionist who specializes in eating disorders, who knows about what I call intuitive eating, which is where you learn to listen to your body, to eat when you're hungry, to stop when you're satisfied, to eat without restriction, which, as you all know, I'm a big fan of. I have an app called No More Diets that's all about how to do that. So that is another key thing. And then also really to be mindful of messages from the outside world. You can't control what is said at school. You can't control what their friends do. What you can control, though, is what media you have on in your house, how much you monitor your young children on their social media, paying attention to things that they're looking at, having conversations if you see things that are fat shaming or are diet mentality, where people are talking about good foods and bad foods, which is also a no-no. That we don't want food to have all of this emotional meaning. Sure, there's some food that has more nutrition in it than others, but it's also important emotionally that sometimes we eat those foods that are fun foods that don't have as much nutrition, and shaming your child for it, or having your child hear you talk about, oh, I'm being bad. I'm being so bad with what I'm eating, that is something that really contributes to eating disorders and a lot of negative relationships with food.
Okay, so if you have, so make sure that you're not talking about yourself badly, but also make sure you're not labeling foods as bad as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It creates a lot of shame around food for kids, which then can oftentimes create restricting. And we also know that the more kids restrict and adults, the more out of control that we become with foods when we are then exposed to foods.
Makes perfect sense.
So when you talk about like kind of keep an eye on the sorts of shows they watch, I feel like society has kind of really come around on this topic. Is it still as prevalent? Like what shows, and maybe you don't want to like actually name check a show, but what sorts of shows out there are still doing those sorts of things?
I mean, look, I'm not watching a lot of kids shows since I now have teenagers.
Sure. It's one of the upsides.
Yeah, yes. But there are some shows that involve kids doing dancing, performing, where there is some criticism of their body.
Okay.
And you notice that, to have conversations or to change the channel or to put on a different show. And I also think that it's important as parents to utilize, when our kids are exposed to something that may be troubling or not really cool, to utilize that to open up conversations.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good idea.
Help our child to know what to do with that information they just received.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for those wonderful tips and for joining us. Until next time, where can people find you?
Well, you can find my column in InStyle Magazine, Hump Day with Dr. Jen, and you can find me on all social media at Dr. Jen Mann, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Mann. And for anyone who is struggling with this issue, I also have an app called No More Diets. It's all about how to become an intuitive eater.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Clip out.
One of the great ways to make exercise more palatable is to make it more fun.
That is true.
Which is where Fight Camp comes in. It really blurs the line between fitness and gaming.
It does, because it challenges you every time you take a class to beat the number of average punches. And it has the trackers that come with your gloves. You buy them, and every time you punch, it tracks your punches. So you constantly are trying to do better. And so it's you against you. It's you against the average. It's really fun. And there's a leaderboard.
We know you love leaderboards.
I do love my leaderboards. Also, I love fight camp that I actually get to punch something. I have a hard time with traditional shadow boxing because it's not as satisfying to me. So being able to actually hit a bag and have excellent direction on how to do it is great.
Fight Camp comes with all the gear you need to start boxing from home, including a freestanding punching bag, boxing gloves, quick hand wraps, and the smart punch trackers that Crystal mentioned earlier. And it takes up less space than you think. If you have enough room to do a push-up, you got enough room to do a fight camp.
Yes, and these workouts maximize efficiency. So it's all high intensity interval training, so you can get an excellent workout in as little as 20 minutes. Perfect to add on to an existing workout. If you have little to no boxing experience, Fight Camp has your back. They've created programs specifically designed to teach you the basics of boxing and kickboxing.
Fight Camp offers easy payments so you can get your equipment and get started now. You pay over 24 months for less than the cost of a gym membership.
Plus, Fight Camp offers free shipping with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Just go to fightcamp.com/clip.
To get free shipping on your Fight Camp, go to fightcamp.com/clip.
Fightcamp.com/clip.
Peloton in the news.
Homecoming has been officially announced.
It is May 13th and 14th, only 2 days this year, all virtual. Lots and lots of interesting stuff to come. Been a lot of talk about the fact that when this was first announced, it showed up on everybody's bike and it had a QR code. And whenever you used your phone to go to the QR code, there was a picture of Adele saying, hello. So does that mean Adele will be a key, maybe not necessarily like showing up to talk to us, although that would be amazing. But what if it's like an artist collaboration? And maybe she is going to talk to us. I don't know.
I would think if it's an artist collaboration of some kind, then she's going to engage if they're pushing her at that level. Even if it's pre-recorded and they just tell us it's live.
Oh, yeah. I bet it would be pre-recorded just based on how last year went down. I would say that as well. Pretty cool, though.
Yeah. NBC News this week had an article kind of once again rehashing all of Peloton's missteps over the last year-ish. Was there anything new in here, or just more of the same?
The only reason that I included this was because they made a note about the fact that John Foley staying involved at any level raises some doubt about the road ahead. Really, the rest of it is rehash.
Gotcha.
Even that is kind of rehash, but I thought it was interesting that they had some people quoted where they had the doubt listed in there.
Gotcha.
We shall see.
We shall. So some positive news.
Woo!
Peloton headquarters wins a Fitwell Impact Award.
Yeah, the headquarters in New York City was named winner of the 2022 Impact Award as the health building certification system recognized the top innovations that promote occupant health and wellness throughout the building environment. So they, whenever they changed everything over, they made sure they did a whole lot of things that were really good for people, wellness, and for the environment. So they got rid of office cubicles, replaced them with collaborative workspaces indoors and out, added barista bars and kitchens on every floor, and also added an employee gym. And then, of course, there's been a lot more people coming back to the office because they updated the offices. So it'll be, I can't wait till we all can go and visit someday. That would be cool to do.
Absolutely. So do you think the employee gym has anything in it besides bikes and treads?
The old one did.
Did it?
I thought it was interesting. They said they added an employee gym because the old building did. However, for all I know, that was only for the instructors because the instructors need to stay fit to be able to do their job.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a different situation. I don't know. I would also think this one would be larger than the one. The other one was very tiny at the old building. So I would think this one that's like for all of the employees would need to be significantly larger.
TechRadar has a review of the Peloton tread, and it's positively glowing.
It is. It says that it's a smart, feature-rich treadmill that's worth every dollar, and they gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Wow, I wonder what it did to cost itself that half a star.
It's heavy. It's pricey, even for a premium treadmill. It's bulky. It doesn't have a fan, and it doesn't fold. These are very, very minor againsts.
Yeah.
Okay. Pricey is not minor. I kind of skimmed over that one, but I mean, you already know it.
Right. The Pricey's probably the worst one because heavy. I'm like, do you really move your treadmill around all that much? Maybe in apartment living, like you do, it's more important to have something that folds up.
I think we're pretty spoiled in that regard.
Yeah.
Since we live in the Midwest, we have so much space that it's just not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I do think that people that live in small spaces that are used to things like folding treadmills, I think that is a big deal to them.
That makes sense.
It does.
Coachmag.co.uk decided to test out the Peloton apparel. I thought this was interesting. It wasn't just a review about what it looked like. They're like, we're going to actually wear this stuff and work out and see how it works.
I thought it was funny though, because it's like, we took a spin class and shocking, these leggings stayed put. Well, I mean, you don't move around that much on a spin bike. I've never worn leggings that didn't. Now, leggings on a run, that is a whole different ball game. But it just kind of cracked me up. They were very complimentary, though. I didn't see anything negative about them at all. And they call it a kit over in the UC. And they said that it was great for the tread as well. I have to say that I never have a problem with Peloton gear. I know people have said that it's not as good since they moved over to their own branding. I disagree. I don't have any problems with it. I will also say, full transparency, I have become a huge fan of Beyond Yoga and I wear it pretty much every day at this point. Stopped buying the Peloton clothes. I'm in love with Beyond Yoga. Like, y'all need a sponsor because I'm here. I love it. It's comfortable. It stays put. And it just feels like you're wearing jammies all day. Since I get to work from home, that's become more and more important to me.
I will also point out that you said the UC and I didn't, which means it's officially on its way to becoming a thing.
I don't know that having one other person finally give in to you means that it's on its way to becoming a thing.
That's how it starts.
I love how you just waited till I got done with my tirade just to say that. You were waiting till I was done to say it.
Isn't that polite? Should I have interrupted you?
No, but you also weren't hearing me.
Well, in my defense, you were talking about leggings.
I was talking about all clothes, not just leggings. It could be a bra.
Well, okay, but how would I know? I wasn't listening.
Look at this adorable pullover from Beyond Yoga. I'm not getting paid for this. This is just that adorable that I will wear it. And it's soft. It's like wearing a cloud. I love it.
The Cloud.
So joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube is Angelo from MetPro, here to answer all of your carefully crafted nutrition questions. Hello.
Hi.
Hey guys. Thanks for having me back.
What an intro that was, Tom, because this question, it's
if I did something right, it was on accident, I promise.
Well, it's just that it's not, I mean, it's from Alan Nager, and he says, my struggle is that I have no idea what the heck to eat and when to eat it. And he didn't say heck.
Got it. All right, Alan. So that was the extent of his question.
That was it.
The problem is you don't want to put Tom and I on a podcast with an open-ended question.
I know. This could go anywhere now.
Nothing but beans and pork rinds the rest of your life, Alan.
I mean, because I know how you tell Tom to eat, so you could be real specific.
That's giving us a little too much freedom here. Alan, so what to eat? Here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a priority hierarchy. So if you were to call me and say, help me get healthy, help me get fit, the first thing I would do is have a strategy call with you about goal setting. What are you trying to accomplish? Because that is going to dramatically impact how to answer that question. What should I eat? And it's worth a mild side rant on this topic because there's so much information that we're bombarded with. The articles on the internet, the news feed, the latest celebrity health plan, and they're all different from one another. And it's not that one is right and one is wrong, or that there's a good and there's a bad, but it's often presented as no matter what your question is, here's the solution. And that's not always the case. In other words, you want to lose weight, you want to improve in performance, you want to do that. Well, eat more vegetables. They're high in nutrients. Vegetables are good, but you see that's not going to be the first thing I'm going to tell you if you say, hey, I'm a marathon runner and I'm looking to hit a PR and this, that, and the other, or hey, I'm 50 pounds overweight and I really need to start a healthy lifestyle that'll include some rapid weight loss, or hey, I've lost a bunch of weight and now I'm looking to get that last 5 to 10 pounds, but I'm plateaued and I'm stuck and I need help getting that next. The approach is going to be different for each person. So where we need to start is, what is your primary goal? And then I'm going to encourage you to hyper focus that goal. Don't do it to the exclusion of items number 2, 3, 4 on your priority list. Do it to where you're focused enough to be able to check the box and say, I've made some meaningful progress toward that goal. Now I'm going to add my second priority and my third priority one at a time, slowly adding, because I've learned the magic number of changes a person can make at once. I've been coaching for 20 years. The magic number is 1. One thing at a time. People say, hey, well, I can do more than that. I'm like, I know you can't. Go do it quickly. Come back to me. Hey, you want to check that off the list? You can check that off the list the next 2 hours. Come back to me and I'll give you your next assignment and the assignment after that. Because when we focus on one thing at a time, we can do it really well. Maintain that healthy habit and then move forward. Suppose Alan would like a few more specifics, though, yes?
I'm thinking.
Most likely. Yeah.
Most likely.
Probably.
He's funny that way.
So action steps, Alan, if I had to give you a suggestion, number 1 is, obviously we want to eliminate the junk food, eat more clean foods. And here's the best way to start. Start with a healthy mid-afternoon snack and breakfast. And I always couple those two. If you've listened to me on this podcast before, you hear me talk about the marriage between those two a lot. And it's because from a lifestyle standpoint, when I can get someone to eat a clean breakfast and pack a simple on-the-go clean afternoon snack, something as simple as fruit and nuts, can be that easy. What it does is it is a disruptive behavior that has a very potent effect for the good in your lifestyle. People place, in my opinion, a little too much emphasis on the willpower aspect and not enough emphasis on the routine aspect. So a story that I'm sure I've shared at least once or twice before here on the Clip Out is, I have 2 clients. Client A says, Angelo, I packed my lunch, I had my healthy breakfast, I had my snacks already lined up for the week, and I ate everything right, but on my way home from work, I stopped at Grandma's house. She made fresh apple pie, and I had a piece.
Apple pie.
I figured I'd pause there for Crystal's reaction. Client B says, Angelo, I was short on time. I didn't have anything prepared. I didn't have any snacks ready to go, but I managed to eat healthy all day long, and I didn't eat a single bad thing today. Be client A. Become client A, not client B. I can't do anything with client B, neither can you. So if you're client B, if you're the person who's taking it one day at a time and just simply saying, well, I'm holding my breath and trying to make all the right choices, think back and ask yourself, has that worked long-term for you in the past? If your answer is no, then really focus on establishing a routine. I don't mind if you have the apple pie once in a while, or you have the deviation once in a while from your routine, if you have a good foundation. And to me, I define that as, okay, we have a routine when it comes to breakfast, a routine when it comes to an afternoon snack, and quality habits around lunch and dinner. Once those things are in place, Alan, you're going to be able to make great progress. And then it's simply a lever that you can tune up, where you eat more quantity, protein, quality carbs, healthy fats, vegetables, fruits, You can tune up to increase your intake if you want to build muscle and increase your body mass, or you can tune down, reducing first any sort of excess sugars or fried foods. Second, complex carbs. Third would be any fats, and last would be touching proteins. And that would be the order you would slowly decreasing if your goal is to lose weight. If you want to experience that fine-tuned, well, we can help you with that too. So start with goals, Alan.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And let him know exactly where he can go if he wants to find out.
metpro.co/TCO. And I would visit with you myself, Alan. Just reach out to us.
That's a big offer there.
That is.
So he better jump on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Instructors in the news.
Well, Anna Greenburg had a pretty big announcement.
Boy, did she. So I've been hearing lots and lots about Anna Greenburg saying that she is going to be making an announcement this week.
Well, maybe we shouldn't say anything. Maybe we should let her say it.
Okay, let's do it.
Lengthen out. You've only got to go as far as you've got to go here. And as we move towards the end of our practice, can keep whoever you dedicated your practice to in your heart. And I would love to share with you that I've dedicated this practice to my baby, who I'm growing right now. Many of you have guessed, and I'm so happy to share it. I feel really nervous, very excited, and I also feel this expansive love starting to grow. My greatest hope is that the strength of my love can help my baby to be whoever they want to be.
So we have another Pello baby in the works.
How sweet is that? And, you know, so many people listened to our interviewee last week, Erica McLean.
Yeah, that's right.
And she did this reading for Peloton. And one of the things she said was we're going to have more Pello babies. And the very next week after she airs, boom, Pello baby.
There you go.
And you know, the
power of the clip out.
The funny thing is that she was Anna Greenburg was pregnant shortly after we actually recorded that episode. So because we recorded it several weeks ago.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a lag time there. Yeah.
So that's even funnier to me.
That's a lot of power to wield.
Erica, be careful with that power. Careful what you say.
We need to make t-shirts. Your podcast got me pregnant.
Let's send one to Anna Greenburg. We'll have to get it in maternity size, though, so she can wear it right over her little bump.
Yes. I'm sure the father of that baby would love that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems like a likely thing.
Men's Journal sat down with Cody Rigsby? How do you say this? Rigsby?
What? Honey, you have been on this podcast for 5 years.
I feel like it's been forever since we've talked about Cody. It was funny because he was in, I'm being silly, but he was in the news like nonstop because of Dancing with the Stars. And it feels like it's been a little bit since we've had a Cody Rigsby story.
Well, it has. I didn't know it was long enough you didn't know his name. Poor Cody.
Yeah, because he...
I know.
Listens or gives a shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so Men's Journal did sit down with him and talked about his healthy lifestyle while traveling. I guess he had a whole lot of it while he was headed back and forth with Dancing with the Stars. So he would be able to give lots of good tips for that. Totally. He did have some great tips in this article. So if you will be traveling this spring and summer, then definitely check it out. Lots of good tips for you.
Yeah, when you're looking for health tips, I always start with the guy who got COVID twice.
Not his fault. He was vaccinated.
No, he did the things.
He did all the things.
And it does happen. I was just being silly.
I know. But we will be added at Tom, not me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and please add me on Instagram because I don't pay attention to that.
Yeah, it was a joke. Calm down.
TheList.com has a conversation about Barre versus Pilates. What's the difference?
Yeah, I like this article because it is something that people ask a lot. I mean, there are some big differences in how you, like, one focuses more on your abdominal muscles and one focuses more on your legs, but you get benefits to both, right? At any rate, there's quotes in here from two instructors of two Peloton instructors, one being Hannah Crobin, the other being Allie Love. So if you are fans of either, you might want to check this out. Or if you just like Barre and Pilates and you want to understand it more, great article to check out.
Absolutely. And speaking of Hannah, she had a post this week kind of looking back.
She did. So I guess her and Jess King are celebrating 8 years at Peloton. She says, I still remember sitting down in rehearsal with Jess King talking about whether or not we were going to go to this quote unquote Peloton audition we had heard about. ... 8 years later, I'm sure glad we did.
I bet.
Yeah. Life-changing for those ladies.
Jermain Johnson. Isn't that how you say that?
No. What is happening this week?
It says it right here. Jermain Johnson.
That is his Instagram name. Jermain Johnson, UK.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree.
All right.
They're different.
Poor Jermain. Also,
again, because he listens or gives a shit.
True. Also, just so you know, everyone is now taken to calling him JJ, which in my world, since we've had another instructor that everyone called JJ, it's kind of confusing. But that other instructor is not at Peloton any longer. So I guess we're just going to focus on Jermain being JJ, and I'm going to have to just deal with that.
I guess.
Well, at any rate, Jermain had some exciting news this week. He taught his very first strength class, and it was a 20-minute premiere class. Now, Jermain's been an instructor for a while, but this is the first time he taught strength. So he will be teaching strength from now on out of the UK. Congrats to Jermain. He was very excited about it.
Camilla Ramon has a special Spotify playlist for people.
Yeah, it's going to be featured in the Workout Peloton Hub this month. And she says that it will keep you going strong during your next hype workout, or you can use it to get down. I believe that means easy dancing at your house. My Spanish is a little rusty, though. But anyway, you can start listening to these beats 30 minutes before your scheduled class for an almost guaranteed PR.
And while we're talking about Spotify, we have a couple other playlists.
We do. An interesting team up. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Jess King and Maddie Majacomo. Not because there's anything wrong with either of them. It's just they have such different personalities.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I need to listen to this. But it's a whole playlist they put together. So that's kind of crazy to me. They have very, very different musical tastes.
And then also we have a Bex Gentry and Susie Chan playlist.
Yeah, now this one makes a little more sense to me. It's easier for my brain to be able to wrap around. Bex and Susie Chan, they have a whole playlist. This one has 42 songs and 2 hours and 52 minutes. By the way, it already has almost 7,000 likes on it. How many did Maddie's have? Maddie and Jess? Oh, only 1,279. Y'all, we need to get over there and like some playlists.
It's a contest now.
Yeah, we got to support Maddie and Jess.
So Bradley Rose's wife was featured in Forbes magazine.
Yes, Sophia Parra is a social media strategist who specializes in helping coaches get more clients, boost meaningful engagement, and create profitable online communities. Congrats. And she will teach you 4 ways that using DMs can increase profits as well as foster meaningful connection.
Very fancy. And finally for this segment, Women's History Month is now upon us, and DJ John Michael was showing some support with a special Instagram post and t-shirt.
Yeah, this just seemed like a great way to kick off Women's History Month. Women don't owe you shit. I love that t-shirt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do have one woman who owes me some back child support, but I get the larger point.
Yeah. That's a pretty specific kind of thing.
Yeah.
In general, women don't owe you shit.
That is absolutely true.
In case you missed it.
So you have some classes that you want to kind of pump?
Yeah, there's some classes I feel that you should not miss this week. I got a lot of feedback from our listeners. One of them was the Rebecca Kennedy Premier Hiking Bootcamp, which I took today live. Tons of fun. And if you thought that you could not get a good workout hiking versus running, let me assure you, you're wrong. That workout kicked my butt, and I was dying on the floor when it was over. It premiered on 3/2, so make sure you take that. Also, make sure you do not miss Alex and Tunde Black History Month Block Party 2-for-1 ride. It premiered on February 28th. It was a blast. This has become a yearly tradition, and I am here for it. Also, we already talked about Jermain Johnson's premier strength class. That took place on 3/1. People are also looking forward to Matt Wilpers' 60-minute Power Zone class this weekend and Cody's XOXO ride from 3/1.
Also, you have a special 2-for-1 ride with Hannah and Leanne.
Yeah, Hannah's Push Push crew. They alerted me to this post that there was a 2-for-1 ride that's taking place on March 6th, and it'll be 8 a.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. UC. 30 minutes.
It's a thing.
30 minutes with Leanne and Hannah Frankson, and I believe this is the second year in a row they have done that. So very exciting for those two ladies as well.
This picture makes it look like they're about to sing Lady Marmalade.
I thought it was Marmalade.
Well, I'm fancy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And then Callie Gullickson has a strength stack for the month of March.
Yes, she is leading the strength stack this month, and so she did an Instagram where she went through all the different workouts that she is going to be doing each day, so you can get an idea of what you have to look forward to this month. But specifically, the Instagram post was about this week. Good luck, y'all.
And then speaking of Callie, she also had an Instagram post worth discussing.
She did, yeah. I enjoyed that she talked about, I guess a lot of people give her comments and say things about the fact that she wears bright colors that seemingly have nothing to do with each other. Mm-hmm. Like in the image that we're showing, she's wearing the new gingham collection on top. That's like the pink and white. And then she's got bright green and yellow on the bottom. She talks about the fact that when she was younger, she went through a time period where she just kind of hid herself and kind of tried to blend in, and found out eventually that's not a good thing for her, that she needs to be who she is, and part of who she is wearing bright colors. It kind of is like symbolic of her being herself is the point, and I love that, especially as we kick off Women's History Month.
And then finally, Andy Spear has some spring training in store for you.
Yeah, it's going to be all during the month of March and April, and it starts on Thursday, March 3rd. So by the time you get this, it's already going to be out. There will be all kinds of training. There's going to be running. He's going to be doing body weight strength, but it's going to get you in shape for summer. So this week, starting off a live run on March 2nd, an OD drop on 3/4, which is a 20-minute intermediate hit run. And then on demand, going back in time, September 28th, a 20-minute intermediate body weight strength class. So lots to look forward to. That's just week 1.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Peloton artist collaborations.
The latest artist series features Labyrinth. My apologies to any David Bowie fans out there. That's not the Labyrinth they mean.
No, it is not. It is not. But I know nothing about this artist. I hate that. I hate it. I feel so old when I don't know these artist series. I've heard the name Labyrinth, but it's not like I could go, oh, it's this song,
right,
or that song. I don't know it. But a lot of people are looking forward to it.
Well, and that's
I know
the beauty of the platform. We talk about it all the time. They have so many people that if everything was for us, that would be a bad thing.
Absolutely. Let me just be clear. The only reason I hate that I don't know about it is because I can't talk to it to give any information.
Right.
I should have looked it up, and I didn't. I had some other things going on.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So join us today via the magic of ZoomTube. Very excited because as we've established on the show, I'm a pop culture guy. I'm a comedy nerd.
Yes, you are.
Also just a regular nerd. And and so today's guest, Justin Noble, he wrote for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He wrote for Never Have I Ever, which is a Netflix original, and it's delightful.
Good.
We've watched it all before we knew you were going to be on the show.
Yes.
Like, so wasn't homework. And then he also is now the showrunner for the Max original, The Sex Lives of College Girls. It's Justin Noble.
That's me.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking time out of a very, very busy day. You said that you're gearing up for season 2 right now, and you're doing all the writing room stuff.
Yeah, we're underway. We're 2 weeks in plus 1 day into season 2, coming up with what's next.
How exciting.
Nice.
I can't wait to see what you guys do with season 2.
Me too. I mean,
he's like, do you have any ideas? He's like, exactly. Tell me about your college sex life.
Yeah, what might you like? What if it happened, would you think was so cool?
Oh, well, I wouldn't want to air my ideas on the podcast, because if you decided to use them, then everybody would know what was going to happen.
It's actually one of the biggest bummers. It's like when people pitch ideas, I'm like, damn it. Now, I can't even do that if I wanted to, because it looks like I stole it. So whenever anyone's like, I got a pitch for you, I'm like, oh, please don't.
It's like, so what is how did you come to comedy writing? How did you get there?
I was just always a big old comedy nerd. I like yourself. I grew up always just wanting to make people laugh, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, I'm sure. And then so my college experience is there's a little bit of me in each of the characters, of course, and Mindy, of course, as well. But Bella, the character who's so obsessed with comedy, we both relate to so deeply. When I got to college, my first question was, what is the easiest major here? Because I just want to join a bunch of the comedy groups. That's what I want to do moving forward. Yeah, I just pursued it, and then sort of didn't pursue it that hard for a while. Partied a little in New York and LA thinking I was pursuing it just by in those cities. Yeah, and then just wrote some scripts and got them in front of people and got lucky enough to get into a writer's room.
Wow. So, yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize what a pipeline to the comedy world those college humor magazines, I'm sure they're probably websites these days, can be.
Yeah, a lot of them are Instagram now. I actually didn't do one of those magazines. Mm-hmm. Mindy did at Dartmouth. But
does she rub it in? Does she hold it over?
No, she does not. She does not. We one of the most fun things about the whole show is we were starting to talk about doing this, and without fail, of course, as two people who talk about college, so much of it is this was my experience, and then we went to this place and we were in this club and we did this thing. And after a while we realized we don't know what the hell each other are talking about because we didn't go to school together. So we did a research trip where I took her to my alma mater and showed her around, and then she took me to hers, and we met with all these kids from these groups that we were once in.
That's awesome.
See, and also we just wanted to make sure we're doing the 2021, 2022 version of the show, as opposed to our memory from not those years, not too long ago.
Remember that time I lost my Swatch guard? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my paper's late. I need to get that pigeon over here fast. My professor. Yeah.
I spilled Crystal Pepsi all over my homework.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very specific period of time. It's an 18-month window in the 90s.
That's right.
Wow.
That's why I picked it.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but the best part I love about that story about you guys taking this trip to each other's colleges is they paid you to do that. Hat tip. You got paid to do that.
They didn't.
They didn't. But you can write it off, right? As a show cost.
We wrote it off. Yeah. We did so. I can say with certainty I wrote it off.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was blatant work for sure. But no, that was, research is just part of the nature of it. I think if we were doing it again, we could be hey, we need to do this a different way this time. And they would probably help us out. I did it for free. Because I happened to be there right before the show came out. I was because I premiered the first episode for the first time at my college 2 weeks before the show came out.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. And so I kind of made that into a little research trip where I was I hope this show works. I hope we get a second season. So I'll do some research while I'm here. And yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So season 3 takes place in Paris.
Yeah, exactly. It takes place in a super expensive house.
Right.
All about the title being transferred to my name.
I like where this
for
is
research
going.
purposes.
Of course.
The Sex Lives of College Girls Malibu edition.
Yeah. Oh my God, please. Yeah.
We're from the Midwest. That's the only expensive part of California.
You nailed it.
Know.
You nailed it. It's a nice spot. Yeah.
Oh wait, Carmel.
I went there the other day and got a turkey sandwich and then drove home.
Did you at least look at the beach while you were there?
No, just a very expensive like shopping center.
Oh.
And then, that was it.
Oh.
My husband went to college in Malibu. So it's like so he has some connection there. And so we just go up there sometimes.
I didn't even know they had a college in Malibu.
Yeah. Pepperdine.
I know the name Pepperdine. I didn't know that's where it was located because I've never
Pepperdine
been to a
has this
like
beautiful campus in Malibu. It's like rolling hills that literally overlook the ocean in Malibu.
That's cool.
Wow, I can't even imagine what that must cost.
No.
Yeah, we had like rolling waves of rats. Like when I went to college, it was very different. A lot of dirt.
See, we're in St. Louis. It's like this college overlooks a meth lab. Like that's what we've got going on.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Some of them.
Good to represent lots of different things, you know. So I have to get to Peloton, Tom.
Yes.
I know this is.
I know. Eventually, we have to talk about Peloton.
Yeah.
She makes me.
I do. So, how long have you had your Peloton?
We are pretty early adopters. We had it in October of 18 or 19. I don't know. What year did it come out?
If you go all the way back.
You just asked the historian. Which year it came out?
I have all of the history. So if you want to go back to when the company was founded is 2012. The Kickstarter started coming out in 2014. The OGs are considered the 2015. And so 2008.
So I'm not that O.
But we feel like as time has passed, now the defining like date of early adoption was before the pandemic. So you were before that.
Well before that.
Well before.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm going to, as we chat, I'm going to scroll back in time and get a firm answer for you.
Oh, okay. And
although searching for Peloton in your email and scrolling backwards,
it's scary.
It's going to take a long time.
I know.
I've scrolled many pages and I'm like, it's yesterday still.
Maybe you should just look at your profile and go to your first class.
Can you do a sort so it goes backwards?
Hey, there's a lot of classes in there too.
No. That's how many classes are you up to these days?
I should have brought my
your little show prep. Come on.
Well, to be fair, I didn't send him an email with questions.
Okay, that's fair.
We're looking at the profile now. We're looking at workouts. Nope, we're not. Oh, the app doesn't tell you shit. That's right. Oh, here we go. 1,174.
Nice. Hey, you're about to have a little milestone there. Next class. Yeah. You're going to have a milestone.
A milestone.
That's right.
I'm getting really close to my 1,000 cycling. I'm at 967 cycling.
Oh, exciting. Yeah, at 1,000's a big one. That is definitely a big celebration.
Yeah, it's probably like the last big one, right? I'm not going to hit 10,000, I don't think.
I mean, I think every 1,000 is a pretty big one. So like if you hit 1,000, you hit 2,000. I still think that's a big one. Yeah. Even 1,500, I think is a big one. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not getting, I think I won't be able to find this, but it was in October. I remember that.
Okay. Well, we'll just say October of 18.
But pre-pandemic, so you didn't jump on the pandemic bandwagon. You were...
No, I jumped on the pandemic stock bandwagon.
How you feeling about that these weeks?
He's like really hoping for season 15. Tell you that.
I did. Oh, man, I was up so much money. Not so much, but so much for me, where I was just like, oh, my God.
We bought in day one, so we know what those days were like whenever it was up at 170.
Like in the 80s or whatever it was, right? Or
it got up
to like 160, 170.
Oh, you're right. It was in the 160s.
Yeah. Those were nice moments. They're gone now. I'm sure they're going to be back though, so that's okay.
Yeah,
still a good product. That's what people are losing sight of.
Yes, exactly. It's still a good product. I use it a lot of days.
So, do you take mostly cycling classes? Do you take other classes?
I take mostly cycling classes. I go through, depending on how stressful the rewrite process is getting at work, sometimes a little meditation at night. But it's mostly cycling. And then I would say it's mostly classes, but I do a lot of the Just Ride feature too. Like if I have to read scripts or something like that,
makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll just pop on there and do that.
That's a great way to do that. That's a good.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at these days. It's like a lot of like something in my hand that I have to read on the Just Ride, squeezing a workout in when I can, as opposed to like a Cody dance class that I wish I could do, but I just can't squeeze it on sometimes.
Does that mean that Cody is your favorite instructor?
Cody probably is my favorite instructor. Yeah, he's definitely the instructor I take the most, but I'm pretty versatile. I move around a bunch. I do a lot of him, a lot of Matt Wilpers, some Tunde. I like Ben Aldis.
This is a fascinating collection of instructors. Now, I have listened to a lot of people talk about their favorite instructors, and typically you do not hear Alex, Cody, and Matt Wilpers in the same sentence. Like that's very fascinating.
I'm all over the place.
I love it.
I mean, Emma Lovewell. I really do mix it up a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
So now what about the other classes? Like, well, since you don't have a lot of time right now, you're probably not even getting to the other stuff, like the weights and all the other yoga and things like that.
I've done some weight stuff. I I'll be a bad Peloton guest in that way. Like when I do weights, I tend to be more just like music in my head, taking my time as opposed to like a HIIT class on Peloton. Sure. I've done a couple. Yeah. I've started the Andy Spears program at least twice. But I say I'll get back to it for sure. But I'm mostly a bike guy. I've always been a bike guy, which is why I got the Peloton as early as I did. I was already doing lots of biking prior to it.
Now, did you ride only indoors? Like, were you a spin bike guy, or were you like an outdoor bike guy?
I was a spin bike guy. I was OG Soul Cycle.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Okay.
and then but when things got busy again, it's like recumbent bike at the gym on my phone, trying to figure out, a story I can pitch at Brooklyn Nine-Nine that morning after I get to work. A lot of multitasking workouts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes that's the only way you can fit it in. So that's what it works.
I would think it would be helpful just from the point of view of like sometimes like the best way to think about something is to not think about something. Like I would.
Yeah. The shower effect. Yeah. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really helpful. Although sometimes it's the opposite where you're like, I had this great story. Oh, fuck, I can't remember it. It's gone. I should have written it down, but I had nothing. I was like sweating into a towel. Oh, man. Come back to me. And then
So that had to be tough on Brooklyn Nine-Nine to write a cop show towards the end.
Just timing.
Well, I wasn't there. I left to start this show in October or November of 19.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, because it takes a while to get a new show on the air.
Sure. Yeah.
It makes sense. But, when we're watching it, it's like that's been, wow. So it's been since 19.
Yeah, but I know how tough it was for all of them. I was definitely on a lot of phone calls, even though I wasn't working there anymore, to be like, what do you think of this? Like it was, it was tough for them to figure out ways to address it. But I thought they addressed it like pretty beautifully and honestly.
Yeah. I have a question before we get back to Peloton, because she will. This is what she does. This is just
a Peloton podcast, Tom.
It is. But then you had me on it. So I have just a weird question about how shows are identified within the HBO Max ecosystem.
Great. I'm sure I'm the expert for that.
You're closer than anybody else on this show.
That's true. That's true. I'll try my damnedest.
How come some shows are called Max Originals and some shows are called HBO Max Originals?
Oh, man, I can totally handle this. Yeah, well, I think they're the same. I think Max Original is an original for HBO Max.
Okay.
I think it's like, HBO is like that, like linear on TV. You got DirecTV. You're looking at what's on at 8 p.m.
Right.
It's on HBO, whereas HBO Max is the streamer that they're moving things towards. And yeah, so I actually don't know what an HBO. I think
maybe I misnamed it, but I thought like some were Max Originals and some were like HBO. I guess so. You don't like you're only on streaming.
There's definitely HBO shows,
right,
and there's HBO Max Originals. So like we're an HBO Max original because we were made for HBO Max. We work with HBO Max executives, not HBO executives. Like it's a different product that they're sculpting.
Gotcha.
Like Succession, as I understand, is handled by different people.
Okay.
Because that's there. It airs on HBO Max, but it also airs on, normal linear.
Okay. Because we don't have like regular HBO anymore. So like I didn't realize that not everything. I thought maybe like sense. It was like some of them were on Cinemax and some of them were on, I don't know.
No. It's like a slow changeover. I think things are moving towards HBO Max, like definitely think I've heard them talk about that before. Okay. I think like we're all just waiting for the day that all of these cable providers kind of cease to exist. It feels like it's coming at some point, and everything has moved. Like everyone has their own streamer,
right?
Like NBC Universal has Peacock, and CBS Viacom has Paramount Plus, and so they've all been putting these pieces together for a bit. So now they're all there. So the only thing that's left is to like move to it fully, as opposed to But if they're still making money in advertising, it's all business.
Absolutely. Okay, that gives us some clarity. I've always been confused by that. So okay,
but there are HBO Max executives who hear pitches for shows from people like Mindy and I and other writer creators, and they decide, hey, this is going to be a show that HBO Max is going to make with HBO Max money, and we're going to try to put it on HBO Max.
Interesting. Okay, so it's like a different business division. It's like a different division.
Yes,
okay.
Totally. Yep.
So kind of taking a question for both, like your day job and Peloton. I'm going to try to, and I'm really going to put you on the spot here too. I remember seeing that you posted in what we refer to as the OPP on Facebook, the official Peloton page. And you were like, hey, with all this, you guys are all watching Sex and the City. You should be over here watching the sex lives of college girls. And I heard there was the writer here. That really cracked me up, because I'm sure most of those people did not understand that was you. And but I was curious, from your perspective, actually being a showrunner, what are your thoughts on the Sex and the City scandal? And now Billions has done another heart attack. What are your thoughts from how does that work?
I'll be honest, I haven't watched it yet. One of the things that's craziest about making TV is you spend so much time making it that you fall behind on watching it. I friggin' love Sex and the City. Like, it's like a show that I watched on repeat for a really long time. Like, it's bonkers that I haven't watched any episodes yet. But I've just been like truly living in the world of making this show forever. Yeah, but so I don't have a ton of great content for it. But I would say like I've definitely toyed about like writing Peloton into shows in the past. I had a show that was like in development on NBC that didn't get made, that had like heavily featured a Peloton, like a character who lived in a shoebox who like only owned a Peloton pretty much. But yeah, it's interesting that someone died on it. I was like, whoa, that's what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
And then this week, Billions aired, and another character died on Billions.
On a Peloton?
On a Peloton. Had a heart attack on a Peloton, yeah.
And then referenced the Mr. Big character from Sex and the City.
Wait, what?
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, they dubbed it in. They dubbed it in. They were like
done with like ADR dialogue.
They were like, I'm not going out like Mr. Big or something to that effect. And then he died. So
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that to me feels like Billions, had this thing, and then they were like, oh God, they had a similar thing on. And just like that. And then they were like, we need to address the fact that it was on and just like that.
Yeah.
And throw a line of dialogue in. Yeah. That's part of the fun of making TV X number of weeks and months before it airs.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And good to point out to all of our listeners that like the people who, because there's been a lot of people very upset about the fact that a character died on the bike. Like, it's just very upsetting. And it's like, you got to remember this happened so far in advance. The writing actually happened so far in advance.
Yeah. Also, like, I mean, should we really be upset about characters dying on like?
To give you a little context, I have to give you a little context. There was that exact same week, within 7 days of the Sex and the City reboot airing, there was a writer that we all know and love within the community who
very high profile user.
He is truly an OG. Like, he was one of the very first people that had a bike. He died on the bike, and it happened. And then like 7 days later, this aired. Like, people weren't even done grieving, and so it felt very like it was just very upsetting to the community.
Well, yeah, that's totally tough, and that's like just to put it in like terms that relate to entertainment. It happens sometimes. Like, we on Brooklyn, I remember like we would write episodes, and then I would be like, I really hope there's not like a shooting in this type of establishment that week, and our episode is somehow triggering to those people who live through that, like, because you just can't know the tea leaves until they're cast.
Totally.
So it just feels like a situation that was unprecedented and everybody lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But also at the end of the day, like, Jimmy Walker's dad on Good Times died in a car crash. Everybody drove to work the next day.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, where do you draw the line on that kind of stuff?
It's tough. TV's like personal for the person who's watching it.
Yeah.
And like I'm always one of those people, like, it's such an old adage, but like I try to remember you never know what someone's going through when you interact with them. Like the person who cuts you off in the parking lot in the grocery store, like you don't know, they could be coming from their doctor and just got the worst news of their life. Like you gotta just give people a little grace and a little space.
Oh, that's nice.
Never said that before and it rhymed. I'm so excited.
Just jot it down.
God.
Don't sweat into a towel. Write that down.
Oh my God. Put it on a tea towel for just 4 payments of $50.
You're moving out of show writing and into poetry.
Oh my God.
That's where the real money's at.
Happened. Wow. Grace and space. It's going to be my new hashtag on Peloton. I'm going to be hashtag Grace and Space.
I love it.
On the bike an hour from now.
You're so much nicer than I am that when I get cut off, I just assume they're a white supremacist. Like I just go right to that.
Yeah. I've been there. I've definitely been there in that thought. Yeah.
We all have a little rage.
Yeah. There's like effing Proud Boys. They don't know how to drive.
They're out there.
So what else? Okay, Tom, you can go back to comedy now.
I can go back to comedy?
Yeah, you can. I'll let you go back.
I didn't think I'd get to ask that many.
Are you out?
I don't know.
Fast.
I'll think of something.
Okay.
So when you were starting out, were you ever like a stand-up guy, or were you always like a writer?
I wasn't. You know what? I always wanted to perform as well. I was always like obsessed with, like, mostly, I'm such a gay stereotype, but like mostly like the women in SNL in the 90s. Like I just like loved, Sherry O'Terry and Molly Shannon. And I had like a disproportionate love for Anna Gasteyer that I still have to this day. Like all of them, Tina and Rachel and Amy. But so I always wanted to do both. And so I did a lot of improv and sketch, like in New York, and then very lightly in LA when I moved out here. But then I started to see how hard those spaces were, like in a professional way. Like when I moved out here, I lived in LA with Kate McKinnon for a minute before she got cast on SNL.
Yeah.
And then I just was hearing it's more about SNL and diving into it and hearing what writer friends, what their schedules were like there and things like that. And I was like, oh no, I don't want that. I don't think that's a lot of hours. Those are the number of hours they work. I'd rather have a better work-life balance. Well, guess what? I screwed that up. Like, it's still bad in writing, but at least we're like all doing what we love.
Well, and you know what? You don't have to do the Sex Lives of College Girls live once a week.
Which
sounds really weird when I say it out loud.
It does.
Oh, yeah, but
yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
live TV is so fascinating. It's like, you know what? I watched the movie Being the Ricardos over
yeah.
And I found myself disproportionately jealous of the character who plays the showrunner for I Love Lucy, because I was like, your job was so simple. It was like simple. Like you had like a couple cameras pointed at things. You enter through this door. I was like, whereas our scripts are like, we have like a unit that films in New York, a unit that films in LA, and like there's like so much more equipment. It's just such a different beast now than it was.
But so I'm a TV like history nerd. So
great.
But here's the thing to keep in mind about something like Being the Ricardos is that they were inventing that. You know what I mean? Like,
which would have its own stress.
They were making that up on the fly. Like Desi Arnaz literally invented the 3-camera setup for sitcoms.
I know.
Did not
the movie
exist.
Definitely includes it in the line where I was like, there it is.
Yeah, I was waiting for it too. I was like, this guy needs more respect than he gets. Like they invented all of that.
And he's saying that for our listeners. He knows you know.
And so it's like, on one level it was easy, but on another level, like it was like every day was a new problem that had never been encountered before.
I know. I'm like pretty confident I'm not going to invent something. I think I would have, and if I do, I promise it will be as accidental as that Grace and Space thing that happened. I'll just be like, meant to do it. It's the 35 camera system. It's expensive and a nightmare in post. Does anyone like it?
Okay, but I am curious. Why do you have to have 2 different film crews? Like, why is there one in California and one in New York. Wait,
Like, why are they different people, or why do we film in both?
why do you film in both?
Well, Mindy and I both went to schools that were on the East Coast, and we just hadn't seen that as much on TV for the obvious reasons. Like, if you are in LA where most TV is made and you're like, hey, I want to write a show about college, even though there aren't that many, or like high schools, like it all looks the same. It's all like the red brick schools that we see out here in LA because you just drive to them and film at them. So we were just approaching it creatively, wanting it to be in like a New England, like kind of romantic space. The like remake of Little Women had just come out, and we both really liked that and the way it looked, and like the cold. The movie The Social Network was a big influence on it. Like we just loved the way that captured what these like old kind of like elitist institutions looked like on the inside. And it also just helps the comedy to be in a place that's like super old, where like the Bella character is like talking about how she like loves giving handjobs, but she's standing in front of a statue that like Patrick Henry touched or whatever. Like it's being so like disgraced by this like new story that's just much more fun and visceral.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So we filmed it. So we filmed all of our interiors on the Warner Brothers lot in LA. And then once we were done with that, we packed up and we drove. We didn't drive. We're not the Muppets. We got in the car, we sang a bunch of songs together, and we ended up. We got to a map, and there was a red dot that was bouncing around. And then we got to Poughkeepsie, New York, and where Vassar is, and we filmed all the exteriors there.
Now I want to see a Muppet version of the Sex Life of College Girls.
Oh my God! Call me Henson Productions. I love that. The crossover no one ever knew how to classify.
I don't think they can do that with Muppets, guys.
Yeah. Oh, sure they can. Yeah. Why is Fozzie matted? Let me get these tangles out.
God. Animal, you were in the shower for so long.
Yeah. That's why Gonzo has that nose.
Oh.
What? I can do this all day.
Oh my God.
All day long. So did you say your leaderboard name? I know you said a fictional leaderboard name.
Are you okay with sharing
it?
Yes, of course. My leaderboard name is Justin Likes Dogs.
I love that.
And you'll never guess why. I like dogs.
Is it because you like dogs?
It is. Yeah, so it's Justin Likes Dogs.
Do you have multiple dogs?
No, only one, but he's a good boy. He's a good boy. His name is Snacks, and he understands the Peloton. He knows when I grab the shoes, it's going to be like an hour and 10 minutes until he gets any attention. Yeah.
Does he sit there and stare at you with his little head on his paws?
He does. We live in like a townhouse in LA, and the Peloton's all the way up in our loft. Mm-hmm. We also bought these really embarrassing like tube neon lights and put them on the wall next to the Peloton, so it looks like kind of like a club.
Yes.
And he just hangs back away from it and just rests. And I don't look back a lot because I'm so in the zone.
Right. Well, that's good. You should be in the zone.
Our dog sits there and waits for her.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, she's very, and then like every once in a while she gets brave and she like comes near me and she's like, now? And I'll be like, no, get away.
No, you're going to get hit in the head.
Yes, exactly.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Back away, puppy.
Very real.
So, do you have any advice for people that are just now entering the world of Peloton?
Just now entering the world of Peloton.
Brand new people. Wow.
I would say try all different kinds of instructors. I mean, that's not the most interesting advice in the world. I'm sure everybody says it. What's my advice? I love Matt Wilpers' Power Zone training. I think not a lot of my friends like take it.
Well, you guys, I don't know that it works with your schedule very well.
I know, but I love it when I can like build my way up to like a 75-minute class on the weekends or something. Oh, I feel great.
So have you ever done one of the Power Zone challenges?
I don't know that I have.
Yeah, there's a whole
I'm very
group.
streaky. I'm very streaky.
Okay.
It's like there's like months where I'm on it every day for 100 minutes a day. And then there's like 3 months where it's like, what happened, Justin? And it's usually work related, of course. But good advice. Ugh. Follow me on the leaderboard because I want more friends to compete with in competitions.
Be careful what you ask for.
My join the monthly challenges, I really like want him to, so I can like be like competitive about it. I'm very competitive.
Why won't he join them?
I don't know. I think he like doesn't get competitive in a way that I want him to.
That might be best long term, though.
It might. You might get along better with that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
We're very competitive, but luckily we're competitive about totally different things.
Yeah.
Because if we get competitive about the same thing,
it's a problem.
It's a problem.
It is a
What
problem.
are the things you're competitive about?
Well, Tom.
In the Peloton world, yeah.
So the thing about Tom is he doesn't ride the Peloton. So he doesn't do anything on Peloton. I know, it's weird. So yeah, he has a background in radio, background in like doing podcasts. So he convinced me to start this podcast, and then he was like, "I'll help you with that stuff," because I am very introverted, and I didn't know how to like do transitions from one subject to another. I know it sounds easy, but it's not to just stop a conversation. And so he was helping with all of that. And so, yeah, he is here because he got sucked into it, not because he likes Peloton.
And you haven't like gotten curious to try it?
So I've never exercised in my life. Ever. Like
he likes to say his body is in like new condition.
My body's in like new condition. Never been used. And and so I hate sports, and like I have a very famous story about when I was a child, I struck out at T-ball. Like,
oh wow.
That's 100% true. And so I hate all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I did finally get sucked into exercising. I started using, we have a Tonal. And so I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. But,
yeah, of course I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
So we have a Tonal, and I started doing that, but I did it for a year without telling anybody.
Yeah. I was the only one that knew.
She was the only person that knew. I didn't tell anybody in the world that I had been secretly using the Tonal for like a year before I finally came out.
Yeah.
So, but
wow, well, congrats on your Tonal jersey. In your jersey, if you have one.
They sent me a shirt. They were very nice. They were very excited.
I never got my Century shirt.
What?
No, I didn't get it.
Did you?
Was I supposed to do something? Was I supposed to like go online and be like, "Hey, I did it. Give me a shirt."
Well,
maybe I didn't.
In theory, it should have happened automatically. But if you don't get it, you can still go back and claim it. Just send an email to support, and they will take care of you because they can see that they've never sent you one. Like for real, they'll take care of it.
Does it have to be in the size I was when I hit that 100 mark, or can it be where I am now?
It can be where you are now.
Perfect.
You send it from like your HBO email address.
Yeah,
like,
they'll be like, "Oh, we better get right on that."
Leave the signature stamp on there. You know what I mean?
I'm sure I have one. I'll just change my signature.
Yeah, be like showrunner, and then be like, "Oh shit, get this guy. Send him to."
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But well, I guess that's all of our questions for you. So thank you so much for joining us. We know you're super busy.
Yes.
We're very excited to talk to you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Thank
you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Before we let you go, let everybody know where they can find you. Since you're in the entertainment world, I'm assuming you would like to be found.
I would love to be found. I would love for anyone who hasn't checked out the show yet to watch The Sex Lives of College Girls.
And they should.
Now available on HBO Max. It's fun.
It is.
And you know, it is fun. I feel like I'll say it so you don't have to. Like, the title makes it sound like it's going to be a lot more salacious than it is.
Yes.
And I think, because I know Crystal at first was like, "We're going to watch what now?"
And I was like, what is this?
Yeah, I'm I'm watching Red Shoe Diaries. Or
I thought he was trying to like make me watch something weird with him, and I was like, what are we doing?
No, the title's definitely catchy. It definitely gets that vibe. But there's a twist to the title once you're watching the show. It's much more about their light dating, awkward romantic lives of four girls who have never met before but have to share a 500 square foot room.
Absolutely.
That's too many hyphens for a title.
I mean, you already have a long show title.
You do. Yeah. And it's a perfect title. It just sounds like it's something that it's not until you know what it is. And it's like, oh, yeah, totally get that.
Yeah. Originally, we were calling it College Girls. And then we're like, there's a show called Girls. We can't call it College Girls.
Yeah, that's true. It sounds like it's a prequel.
It does.
Yeah.
But it is a wonderful show, and everybody really absolutely should check it out. I love it.
My favorite line of obviously we've only seen the first season because it's all that exists. But my favorite line from the whole show so far, the purse hooks aren't $50. Whoever wrote that needs a raise. You wrote that?
I didn't. I can't take credit for that one. That was I have to go back and look, but I love that line too. And Nicole Sullivan, who plays Kimberly's mom, is like, oh, she's so great. The
delivery on that was perfect.
I'm just perfect. Like,
one of my favorite lines from that episode is right after that, where like after the girls, after Kimberly and Nico have talked in French, and she goes, "I wish I understood them," and I like makes me laugh every single time. And that we just added on the day, like. He was just like so present watching.
Yeah, that whole dinner scene was like, that might be my favorite episode. Like that whole dinner scene was great. I was just like, I felt like that was the one where it like really hit its stride. It was just firing on all cylinders. And I was just like, that was great television.
It was really interesting to film during COVID when you're like, if one person in this room gets a positive test, everyone is here. There's no one else we can film.
You just took the whole show out. Totally.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was a real moment of fingers crossed. We got through it.
Good.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. So, and so any idea on when we can expect season 2?
I don't think it's been announced yet, so I don't think I can say.
Okay. But I don't want to get you in trouble.
We're making it. That's what matters, and it's on its way. And we've done a whole 11 days worth of writing.
Yes. I'm sure you've got like 8 episodes done then, right?
We're almost done.
I mean, they're like 30 minutes, so it takes like what, 45 minutes to write one? And then how that
you
works?
write an episode usually, in about 45 minutes. Oh my God.
You're like, this. It's not according to Jim. Like we can't. We don't do that here.
But we're underway, and it'll be coming out, in time.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, well, we will keep an eye out.
We will. Yes. We will.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
It's been great. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
Clip out.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. And what, pray tell, do you have in store for people next week?
Next week, we are going to be talking to Kim Zingale, and we are going to be talking all about her diabetes and other medical issue journey that she has had and how Peloton has assisted in that journey.
Awesome. Well, until then, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/CrystalDO'Keefe. They can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and all of the Peloton leaderboards at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget our mailing list that you can sign up for and get all the articles and stuff sent directly to your inbox weekly. And you can do that at theclipout.com. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling.
And running.
Clip in, set yourself